Welcome to Uncopyable Women in Business. I'm Kay Miller, also known as Muffler Mama. I've been the #1 salesperson in a male-dominated industry, a successful entrepreneur for over 30 years, and now my mission is to help you build a business and brand nobody else can compete with. If you're ready to break out of the pack and create your own uncopyable advantage, stay tuned. My guests and I are here to help. I am delighted to be here today with Kendra Corman. Kendra is a marketing strategist who spent years managing major brands like Jeep before launching her own agency. Today, she helps businesses cut through the noise with smart email marketing, AI tools, and podcasting. She's also the author of Mastering AI in Communications and has a knack for turning complex marketing ideas into practical strategies that work. Kendra, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited for this conversation.
Now, we have a couple things in common. One is that we both know Brenda Meller, and we think she's awesome, and she referred you to this podcast. Thank you, Brenda. And the other thing that we just discovered, we are both addicted to Post-it notes, which I describe as both the boon and the bane of my existence, because Kendra just showed me, I jotted this down. And, of course, you end up getting piles of these Post-it notes. But yeah, I love them. I love them. So, Kendra, you have quite an interesting story. And as the owner of several Jeeps, I think we've had like 3 Jeeps in a row. My husband, believe it or not, our branding color is orange. His Jeep is bright orange. So people see him coming. We live our brand. We walk our talk. So you started literally in a call center and then worked your way up to advertising, Jeep advertising manager. So fill us in a little bit on how that happened.
So I was recruited out of college. Penn State University is where I went, undergraduate in advertising and public relations. And I interviewed for it was sort of like a college training program, but not really. And you went into the call center and then you went out into the field organization and you worked with dealers, and you could go anywhere in the country after that. There was no guarantees where you would go or who you'd be working with, things like that. And I was like, this sounds like fun. I want to do this. I love Jeep. I love Chrysler. So let's go. And so I spent about 2 years in the call center answering phone calls. It's like, hello, thank you for calling the Daimler Chrysler Assistance Center. It's just Kendra. How can I help you? And then I usually had someone yelling at me about something broke or something happened or lots of different things. And then we'd call the dealership and say, hey, what's going on? If a car was just out of warranty, we'd repair it. It was an amazing job with an unbelievable amount of authority to actually fix customer issues. But I was done answering customer calls, getting yelled at and fired. That was one use of my Post-its back then. We used to keep track of how many times we got yelled at or fired.
Wait a minute, you got fired?
No, the customers would say, I'm going to get you fired.
Oh, I see.
And or they would sue us, right? They were going to sue us. So we'd keep tallies of those.
Yeah, that must have been interesting. You probably took a little bit of a beating there.
A little bit. So the way I worked my way up into corporate, or into the tower, as we call it here in Metro Detroit, is I had informational interviews. I didn't know what one was. I came across the director of, I think he was incentives is what he was in charge of, was dealer incentive, the car incentives and things like that. And he said, you should have an informational interview with me. And I was like, I have no idea what it was. And back then I asked Jeeves, because there was no Google.
Jeeves, I remember Jeeves.
So I asked Jeeves what it was, and it gave me some sort of information. But I figured out what an informational interview was, had an informational interview, had multiples with other executives and people that wanted to talk to me and tell me about their career path. And then a job came open and they're like, Kendra, I think I have a job that's the right fit for you. They transferred me departments, and then I started working my way up from there. The best piece of advice I was given when I was at Chrysler was by the head of HR. Her name was Nancy Ray. And she said, if you're not getting the experience for the job you want in the job that you have, volunteer and get it. At the time, I was on the board of our Women's Forum, which was one of the employee resource groups that we had. And I loved it. That experience as the women's forum and leading communications for that group got me into marketing. And I was the SRT marketing manager and then eventually the Jeep advertising manager. And I managed the entire brand of Jeep for North America.
That sounds like quite the job. The informational interview, that's an interesting thing. It reminds me of a recent guest. We talked about mentoring and how, that's really interesting. They must have seen that potential in you to say, would you like an informational interview? But yeah, it's a term we don't really hear as much anymore. And it's something that, hey, it's a good reminder that you can always ask someone, can I have this informational interview to learn more?
It's no pressure for them. And they want to talk to you. They want to share their journey with you. And it works in business too, right? If you're trying to get business, you can have informational interviews with organizations to learn about what they do. People love to share what they do, how they've grown and where they're headed. It opens up so many opportunities.
And it sounds like being a part of that women's forum, I'm sure also helped people notice you. You stood out, I'm sure. Did things that were very fulfilling. Was that really an important part of what you did?
Yeah, it was a great way to get connected to other women throughout the organization. And because we were very siloed, right? You didn't get out of your department much. I mean, it was a 5-minute haul from the parking lot to get to your desk, 5, 10, 15 minutes, depending on how far away you had to park. And people didn't really leave the building. A lot of people, they came in, they went home at the end of the day. And the Women's Forum really allowed me to make a lot of connections and relationships that are still around today.
That's good. And this podcast is all about supporting women. So, of course, that resonates with me. I also come from an automotive background, as you know, started out selling automotive mufflers. Know the automotive world fairly well, although it's been a while. So so I'm not sure exactly how it progressed from leaving Jeep to be in advertising to starting your own agency. You can either talk about that or just let's broach Imperfect Marketing, which is the name of your agency, which I love that.
Thank you.
Tell us about what that means.
So for me, one thing I found out when I had left Jeep and left this huge company with all these set processes and ended up going to work for some smaller organizations, I felt like I was robbed by the agencies that we were working with. They were nickeling and diming and charging us for everything. And I'm like, I can do better. The company that I was with was paying $90 a box for business cards. And I'm like,
$90 a box for business cards?
Plus shipping. And I'm like, what? And this is a long time ago. We're not going to talk years.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But it was a long time ago. So I got them down to $32 that included shipping just by putting in processes of having things bid out on a regular basis and putting those practices into place. And I just really noticed a huge hole, really, where companies, smaller sized companies, just didn't have the rigorous processes that we had at Chrysler. And I felt that it was really important to share that with really the rest of the world and to help them do that with their marketing. And so after I got my MBA, I had enough confidence to start my own agency. And I started working with small businesses and nonprofits and making a difference for them. I love working with organizations where I can make a difference. Business to business, nonprofits, places where there's just so much low-hanging fruit because they don't have people with the expertise that like you and I have. And it's so hard for them to do that. And so they can bring us in as fractional marketing departments.
And that term fractional is, I don't know how new it is, but fairly new. But yeah, you can, as I mentioned, I like to deal with companies that don't have a marketing team. So yes, that's kind of that concept of having someone who's an expert come in and help you. The business card example, it reminds me of the fact that these small business owners, which of course that could range to many millions of dollars and still considered small, but they are at a disadvantage. Something like, they don't have the time. They're so busy running their businesses that even something like paying too much for business cards can be something that, you could come in and say, hey, this is not right. And, I've got advice on many, in many areas. So I think that's interesting. And it's good for us because there are a lot of companies, we're both small business owners. We've done it all for ourselves. And so we can help other people do it too. And of course, the imperfect marketing, I want to get back to that because I think perfection stops a lot of us. And I really have been reading more about this, that, procrastination is an excuse, or perfectionism is an excuse, one way or the other, that we're so afraid that we have to do everything right that a lot of times we become paralyzed. So first of all, what do you mean by imperfect marketing?
So, I mean, progress, not perfection. You want to, nothing is ever going to be perfect. It is not. There's no way. You can proof everything. You can send it out 100 different ways. Somebody's not going to like it. Somebody's going to have a different preference of something else. You're not going to like it in 30 days and wonder what the heck you were thinking. It doesn't matter. Right? I've done that so many times. It doesn't matter what it is. But when I talk about imperfect marketing, it's moving forward. It's progress, not perfection. An example is that a friend of mine was starting her own business and she wasn't 100% narrowed down on exactly what she was doing, but she came from corporate. And so the first thing she built was a website. And then she had flyers. And then she had swag. Then she had, I'm trying to remember what else she built. All the things that a large company had. Now, the question that you're probably going to ask me next is how much business did she have? That was zero because she didn't put it out there because she wasn't ready. She didn't have all the things she felt. She felt like she still needed more. And I'm like, what more do you need? I'm like, you need business before you spend another dollar. And I think a lot of us, especially those that come from larger organizations, get stuck in that, right? That we want it to be perfect because it's representing us. When you talk about uncopyable you and being you and building a brand that transcends trends and time and is that lasts, you want it to be perfect, but it doesn't have to. It should be authentic. And and you know what? If there's mistakes, I always tell people, I'm like, nobody died in the making of this Facebook post with a typo. We'll fix it and we'll move on.
Right? And now there's a new advantage to being imperfect. I laugh about this because we were talking earlier. It's so easy to spot AI, easier and easier. Put the damn typo in, although it's not AI.
100%.
There you go. I did it on purpose. As an author, I'm sure you've had this experience. Everyone listening, you've sent an email, you proof it, you look at it, and everything's perfect, and then you hit send or publish. And of course, immediately, oh my gosh, I wrote the word "the" twice. The other thing, though, that when you're talking about this woman, the client, about all these, it's tactics that she was developing. And I think that's the beauty of working with someone like you or me, is that what's the strategy? I think that is just so common. It's common sense, but it's also common that people will call me clients. We're thinking about doing postcards, or we're thinking about doing gifts packages or something. And I say, okay, well, what's the strategy? What's the purpose? So there are two problems with that. One is that, you've got to figure out your whole strategy, but then, just don't get so bogged down in all of the things.
Well, and a key piece of your strategy is who's your audience, right? And who are you? And so again, if we go back to your personal brand and who you are and what you're delivering, I need people to know that I'm not perfect. And if they're looking for someone who is, they can keep going to another agency because that's not me. Again, I very rarely send things out with typos. Right? I've done it before. I very rarely send things out where the link doesn't go where it's supposed to. I used to have a heart attack every time I hit send on a client's email, especially I have a client that has like 15,000 emails that it goes out to. I had a heart attack every time I hit schedule or send. Like, it just made me so nervous because I was all worried that there was something that I missed or that they missed, because of course I sent it to them too. And always nervous that we all missed something. But nobody died.
Nobody died. Nobody died. And of course, you know that we call the ideal customer, your target market, your moose. And I totally agree. If you want a moose that wants to deal with real people, real world stuff, then that's the person who you're going to resonate with, you're going to click with, they're going to value what you bring. And if they are wanting something completely corporate, buttoned down, legalese, whatever, that might not be you. So think about, yes, your moose. We have on our website, actually, we always have our rules, and that's something that keeps us uncopyable. And we have things like we don't do legalese, and our family is more important than your family, and your family should be more important than my family. So I like that. Really, what resonates with the type of customer, the type of client that you want. I want to take a quick break to tell you how to get my free download, the Uncopyable Checklist. You'll get 25 proven action steps you can use right away to stand out from the competition and grow your business. Get yours at beuncopyable.com/action-steps. Now, back to the show.
Being authentic, being yourself, bringing your brand personality out, right? Whether it's just you or it's you're growing. And again, like you talked about, don't have a marketing department. Whoever that is, whoever your moose is, like we don't have the same one. If we described our target audience, they might sound almost exactly the same, but they're not. And that's because you and I are different, right? And someone that's going to resonate with me might not resonate with you, and vice versa. And that's okay. And I think that you have to admit that up front, especially if you're in the service industry, that not everybody is the right fit. And if you have the wrong fit, then you're going to be miserable and they're going to be miserable too.
That's true. Even if they do say yes, it's not going to be a win-win. So that's a great point. So let's talk about these businesses we're talking about. They don't have a marketing team. They've got all these things to manage. I used to joke that when people would call our office, I'd say, if you want marketing, press 1. You want sales, press 1. If you want janitorial, press 1. So
I love that.
These business owners and entrepreneurs that are so overwhelmed, so many choices now. And we talked before, and you said you had a pretty clear idea of what you would recommend, and maybe a mistake that you made and you didn't do this when you started. So hopefully you know where I'm going with that.
I do. So when I was starting out, and I still am, do as I say, not as I do, if you're taking my marketing advice, right? But the first thing I didn't do is build my email list. I was out at chamber events. I was networking. I was in local business networking, still am. I was building my business, not building a pipeline and not building a future and not building my brand. And yes, I was posting on social that a whopping 6% of the 20 followers I had at the time, could see things. I was overwhelmed trying to be on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and all the things, right? Because I was a marketing agency. I need to be in all the places. And feeling like you have to be in all the places is first off, the biggest mistake you can make. Pick one, pick two. If you want to be out there on social media, that's fine, but work on building your email list. Social media is about reach. The end goal for me, for all my clients on social media, is to get them people on their email list. If my email list isn't growing, and again, people can go away because they evolve, they're in different seasons of their business or their lives, or they no longer like hearing from me, whatever it is, that's okay. But my email list should be growing at all times. Because when I needed an email list, I didn't have one. And it was because I wanted to change my business. I wanted to grow and scale more. And I had more than enough business to keep myself going, but I didn't have emails and a pipeline to get to that next level. And that is where I really realized that the advice I'd been giving my clients was really good and that I should have followed my own advice. But if you're starting out, if you're overwhelmed and you've got a bunch of business, the first thing that you need to do, focus on building your email list. And if you have nobody on it, that is okay. Add your friends and family and start talking to them as if they were your client. Because I'll tell you right now, friends and family forget what you do on a daily basis because they don't live it, right? And that's if they even understand what you do to begin with. But add your family on it. So that way you don't feel like you're talking to nobody, and then start emailing. That is just so important to stay top of mind. People want to go viral on social media and do that. I just want to talk to the people that want to hear from me and that are potential prospects. I don't want to talk to the whole world. They're not going to buy from me ever. And that's okay.
Right. Yeah. We don't want to sell to everyone. We probably can't sell to everyone. But yes, the email, and we always hear about this, and it's so true. I mean, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, they can just change the rules whenever they want. I mean, even Brenda Miller, who introduced us, we've hired her to help us with our LinkedIn strategy, has been locked out of LinkedIn jail, right?
Briefly. Oh my gosh, I remember when that happened. That was just crazy. I was like, that totally freaked me out.
And the way that I learned about that was that I'm on her email list and she sent an email. So yes, I totally agree that that's step one. Social media is so overwhelming, so many platforms, and you put something out and then it's gone in an hour, depending, or the algorithm smiles on you and gets big reach, and maybe you get lucky and you hit the jackpot. But emailing consistently, people get to know you, you can give them value, create that relationship. So that I totally agree with that advice. And I would like to, and I know some of what you do to create your email list because I've been on your website and I've seen the resources that you present. So how does someone get someone on their email list?
So there's a couple of different ways. So depending on what kind of business you're in, but the way that I do it is with freebies. So what are the things that I can offer somebody that they would be willing to pay me for with their email address? Our email address, like if you think about driving home and getting mail out of your mailbox, there's going to be a bunch of junk mail and you're okay with that for the most part, right? You're like, okay, garbage. You get junk in your email inbox and you get frustrated. You look at your Gmail or whatever it is that's your personal email and you look at the 2,389 unread emails, the little alert on your phone.
That's even worse than mine.
Yeah, I do not go into my Gmail at all. I only manage my work email. But you go into those things and you don't like seeing people that you didn't invite there. And so we protect that, right? We don't regularly invite many people. You have to give me something very valuable for me to give you your email address. And so you need to figure out what that is for your moose, right? Is it a freebie? Is it a download? Is it access to your custom GPT, which is one of the ones that I've been rolling out lately? What is that? And then let them pay for it with their email address. Once they pay for it with their email address, then you can talk to them when you want to talk to them and end up in their inbox and stay top of mind. Even if they delete your email, they saw your name. Just saying. It's perfectly fine that they don't read everyone. And every successful business person I know, I had a guest on my podcast who 10x'd her business by starting an email newsletter. She sells fish. Like
real fish, like
real fish,
salmon and cod and halibut.
Yep. Yeah. And I can give you the link to her website, but she 10x'd her business by talking about fish.
And that's good. I mean, just my mind. I live in Seattle, the Northwest. We're all about seafood here. So I can just imagine all the helpful content, the good stuff you can give, facts and fun facts and all things about seafood. That
even a story.
Stories.
Because you talk about stories.
I do.
It's Selena C. And I'll find that for you.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes too.
And so one of the things that she did is that she told a story about her son. They were at a wrestling competition the weekend before. And so the email that went out on Monday or Tuesday was about the wrestling competition and how he won. And what gave him the edge was the fact that he ate healthy and fresh fish. Like she actually tied it into the fish, which I thought was amazing. That was one of her best performing emails. It sold more fish than any other email. And yeah, it's a story. She welcomed them into her family, showed behind the scenes, and really tied it in to the point where she wanted to. But those stories are what connect us.
They're what connect us and also set us apart from everyone else. But yes, I preach stories all the time and I tell stories. And, we remember stories. If you've gone to a speech or even read a book or read an email, we'll say. And what do you remember? I bet people remember that story of her son. I hope she gave her son a cut of the profits.
I think he got his wrestling paid for.
Yeah, that's right. He probably got a lot of things paid for anyway, but I love that. And as a small business owner, you've got stories. That's one of the big things we talk about in Uncopyable You, because even if someone can copy what you do or what you sell, the product you make, they can't copy your stories and your background. And the fact that you started in a call center for a big company and became the advertising manager. So that's a story that no one else has. I love that story. So we're talking email. You've given us some examples of how you can build that email list. And you, I notice, have quite a few free resources on your site. So it's not just one thing. Is that something that you came to, was that your original intent, or did that come from somewhere? How did that happen?
It was my shiny object syndrome. I actually don't recommend it. I had shiny object syndrome and it was like, oh, I'm all excited about this and let me make a download for that. And then I was at one point trying to match up downloads to each of my podcast episodes and that were solo episodes. And I don't know, I got a little crazy on it. So there was a lot there and I felt like I had a lot to share. And so I kept making it. You only need one to start with, right? Just what does your moose need? Really, what's keeping them up at night? What problem do you solve for them? And how can you get them to understand that you're the solution for that problem? And that, there is a solution. Because one of the things, like I tell people all the time, email marketing is probably their solution. Nobody wants anything related to email marketing. They don't want to write emails. They don't want better subject lines. They don't want any of that, right? They want to know how they can grow their business using posting on LinkedIn or Facebook or running some ads or something that's, I'm going to use the air quotes, easy, because email is easier than you think it is. But they want to go viral. They want to know the secrets to all those things. That's not what they need. That's what they want. And so you got to get them from what they want to what they need. And those downloadables are a great way to do it. But you really only need one.
Right. And I do think people get starry-eyed with the viral video or the viral post. And you just really don't have any control over that. Even the best post could just be a clunker. I don't know.
Well,
so
it could go viral, but who did it go viral to? Mm-hmm. If it didn't go viral to your moose and one post went viral to your moose, right? And went out and got engagement from 10 people and you got 3 pieces of business for it, I'll take that all day, every day over something that 1 million people saw.
No kidding. And Amy Porterfield is one of the people I follow. I'm sure you know all about her. And she says, you don't even have to have a huge email list if you have the right email list. Of course, if you've got people that are wanting to know what you are telling them, want to buy your products, that's a great point. It can go viral. And what does that matter? Why do you care if some wrestler, a healthy seafood eating wrestler reads your content? Well, that's all great stuff. I think that you've given us some really good concrete things that the listener that I can be reminded of too. So Kendra, give us your website. KendraCorman.com, correct?
Yep, it's KendraCorman.com. Kendra's with a K and Corman is with a C. And you can go to KendraCorman.com/resources and you can get access to all of those freebies and even the different things that I recommend if you're looking to start email marketing or podcasting or leveraging AI.
Yeah, check that out. I think one of your downloads is on building your email list, right?
It is, definitely.
So there you go. Ask no more. You can go there right now and get that. So Kendra, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate it. And of course, appreciate Brenda. So I'll just close this out by saying so much for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, that went by quick. Get easy.
It does go quick.
I know. But it's so funny. I don't know if you have this problem, but some people, it kind of drags. Have you ever had that?
Oh my gosh, I had one.
Alrighty, so let's go back. I am back with Kendra Corman. We had a great conversation. Kendra is a marketing strategist who spent years at major brands like Jeep before launching her own agency. So listen to that episode because she helps businesses cut through the noise with smart marketing, including, should I tell them what it is? Your number one recommended method? No, I'm not going to tell you. You have to listen to the full episode. It's brilliant. Okay. So Kendra, after that cliffhanger, we are going to talk about some more personal details about you. And the first one, I would love to hear, what did you want to be when you grew up?
So first off, I do need to add that I think this bonus episode thing that you do is just amazing. And I just want to do a plug for it because it is such a cool way to leverage your guests and your content. So take note of what Kay is doing here. So, all right. So what did I want to be when I grew up? An elementary education teacher. I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher for the longest time. Then my dream car was a Chrysler LeBaron convertible because this was back in the day. And my dad said that kindergarten teachers couldn't afford LeBarons. And so I said, okay, who can? Because that was the most important thing in my life, was this LeBaron convertible. And he said lawyers. And so then I wanted to be a lawyer.
A lawyer. That's so funny. How many people wanted to be lawyers until they found out what it's like to be a lawyer?
I didn't even check that career path. I don't know what ended up happening with that.
No, actually.
But I went far away from it.
We are actually redoing our will, and I told my husband the last thing I would ever be is a lawyer. I can't even stand it. But thank you for the plug on the bonus episode. There's a show that was called Inside the Actors Studio, and James Lipton was the host. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, old-timey thing when he would interview really major Hollywood and Broadway stars. And you'd have these questions afterwards for each one. One of them was like, what's your favorite curse word? So I had to adjust these a little bit. But yeah, it's been a fun thing for me to learn more about my guests. And it's really been popular for listeners. So yeah, pretty cool. So teacher, and actually you aren't teaching kindergartners, although those skills probably come in handy because you still are teaching, right?
I do. Actually, I'm faculty. I'm an assistant professor, I believe is the title, at Rochester Christian University here in Metro Detroit. And I actually teach digital marketing and management classes to college students, in addition to running my agency.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I love teaching.
So what do you do in your spare time? Is there any?
Teach. I read trashy romance novels. Okay, that's about it.
Okay, well, we won't go in there. Although I have to say, I did one time meet Fabio, and he was pretty fabulous, but this was probably 30 years ago. So the second question is, what is something that you want to do, but you haven't done yet?
So I want to get my doctorate. I've always wanted, I love school, have always loved school, loved learning. That's one of the reasons I love podcasting. You talked about how you like learning more about your guests with these bonus episodes. I love to learn. And so getting my doctorate is something that I have not done yet that I want to do. And I am starting that coming up here.
Well, good for you. I'm sure that there are some, I love school. There might be some boos. But no, how exciting. Love to learn. I mean, lifelong learners. I'm always fascinated by lifelong learners. I like to consider myself one. And just recently, I've been much better at reading books, partly because of the podcast. And we didn't really talk too much about it. You do have a podcast, Imperfect Marketing. Check that out. I've listened to some of those. Those are great. And even better, I'm going to be a guest on there soon. So, so Dr. to be Corman, what is something that you particularly like about yourself?
So I'm just going to go with my smile. So I always smile. It's a signature thing. I was just getting a headshot taken the other day and he goes, would you like any serious? I'm like, no, this is this thing's glued on. So I've always been told I have a great smile and that's what I've gone with. So I do like my smile.
Well, you do have a great smile. And smiles are contagious. I don't know if I'm a great smiler. I'm a little bit honestly conscious of my teeth. Now, don't look at my teeth. They're not horrible, but my mother-in-law, she was, a nice person and had no expression. And often she'd say, that person, they just never smile. And I said, we'd say, do you smile? Did you smile at them? No. So when someone smiles, it draws you in. See, you're even making me smile right now. I
There you
like
go.
that. That's a really good quality. I like that. And I think I haven't heard that before. Now, is there something about yourself that you would like to change?
Yes. I regularly tell people that I was born without a filter. So I say whatever I think whenever I feel like it. If you're familiar with the DISC style of personalities, I'm an ID. So I make quick decisions. I'm the I influencer, a party waiting for a place to happen. Even though I'm I'm introverted, I recharge by myself, but I am still very outgoing and make quick decisions and say what I think. And it's not always the best at all. So I wish I would think before I spoke a little bit more often.
I can relate to that. It's interesting. The whole introvert extrovert thing is so, I don't know, puzzling to me because you don't seem like an introvert. Of course, I'm just talking with you one-on-one. My husband, when I met him 39 years ago, I thought, wow, he was the life of the party. He was so fun. What an extrovert. No, absolutely not. He was working his butt off just to fit in. And so it is where you get your energy. But the filter thing, hey, just got to go with who you are, right? Like you said before in the regular episode, we talked about not everyone's going to like you. And the people that don't really care for you, probably you won't care for them that much either. So you've got to find a fit. And I find your honesty and spontaneity refreshing. How's that?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So the last one is pretty easy. What is your favorite vacation spot?
My in-laws have a timeshare in Mexico. It's called Vedanta, and there's a couple different locations. And we usually go there once a year. We're not going to go there for 2 years in between. I was like, I want to say like, unfortunately, but I can't really say that because we're going on a European river cruise instead. Oh yes, first world problems here. I'm not going to Mexico in this lovely resort. But I don't get enough time to recharge on a regular basis. I don't give myself that time when I'm at home. And so being able to get away to sit by the pool with my Kindle and just chill out and eat Mexican food is just so much fun and amazing.
Well, as I look out the window and tomorrow's Thanksgiving, I live in Seattle, so you know what the weather is. That sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful. Right? So, well, Kendra, it's been really fun getting to know you. You've had some great advice and information stories that will help listeners, especially if they're looking to, build their business. Who isn't? We want to grow. We want to impact more people and make a difference. So, Kendra, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Uncopyable Women in Business. If you enjoyed it, please follow, rate, and review the show. And be sure to visit beuncopyable.com/K. Always remember, be uncopyable.